Shalom Uvracha. Welcome to today's presentation, Financial Clarity with Rabbi Mendy Teldon. We are thrilled to have a nice group of shluchim that are on the line with us, those that will be joining and those that will be seeing this at a later point through the recording. And it's our intent that the time we spend together be very useful and helpful for the financial management of your mosid, and as like Mendy said in the PR, for your personal finances as well. A brief word of introduction. I've had the pleasure of knowing Mendy for a long time. Turns out actually Mendy's parents were by my parents' chasana, but at that point his parents didn't know each other. Mendy, I don't know if you knew that story.
I do not.
Yeah, your father's in all the pictures with my father, and your mother's all the pictures of my mother, but they were yet to be Rabbi and Mrs. Teldon. So we go way back, family, friends, and good friends. On the shlichus front, Mendy and I have been working together with fundraising and other financial clarity for quite some time, and the tool that Mendy's sharing today was a result of his extreme skill with programming Excel spreadsheets and his unyielding desire to get down to the bottom of what his numbers really look like so he can do something with them. Something I learned from Elio Schusterman a while back. It was actually, he shared it with me in the context of debt. He said, if you can't quantify what you owe, you can't work to pay it off. And I think with fundraising, it's a similar idea. If you don't know your numbers, you don't have a spreadsheet that has everything you need to know right there in front of you with the right access at the right time, then you're playing somewhat of a general game, and general efforts bring general results. Focus efforts bring focused, highly productive results. What Mendy's presenting today came out of a request of a number of shluchim who said, could you share? Could you share this tool with us? On the sheet that we have up on the video right now, there's a link. Click on it. You should be able to click on it. If you can't click on it, let's see. Mendy, can you copy and paste that into the chat? I think that should do the trick.
I don't know how to chat.
Down on your bottom bar, next to where the share button was, there's a balloon that says chat. Click on that. There you go. Okay. Thank you for requesting that. So you can click on that and you can follow it throughout the presentation. This is a tool that has come through trial and error, many, many hours of programming. Over the course of time, and Mendy's actually come to coach shluchim into programming this. Hold on a second. Let me share that to panelists and attendees. Hold on. And here you have the link in the chat box. Go click on it. Thanks for pointing that out. So Mendy is generously sharing it for your use today. Some shluchim are going to come to this presentation and walk away saying, wow, that was good. I got what I needed and I'm off and running. Thank you. Good job. Some are going to say, I got a lot, but I need more. So Mendy does generously make time for shluchim for a reasonable coaching fee. And if you're from the shluchim who need additional assistance with this, be in touch with him after the program. So, and talk to him about coaching if that's necessary. A question just came in. What time will this end? The presentation is scheduled to end by 3:45 p.m. Eastern, and then we're going to open up for Q&A. So do keep, if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat box as the presentation goes on. We're probably not going to address them in the moment, but we're not running away at 3:45. We'll stick around to give you as much value as we can for joining today's presentation so that you can walk away with the most benefit. And with that little intro, I'm excited you're here.
I'm going for supper at 7, so before that.
That's good. All right, Mendy, take it away.
All right. I just first have a technical question. I'm not sure how the system works. Did you just see me move something in front of that screen?
No, hold on. I see a blank screen now. You scrolled over to copy that link, and I see a blank screen. So come back, bring your screen. Yeah, now we're back.
Okay, and still?
I'm seeing half of.
Okay, very good. Okay, I figured it out. Okay, very good.
All right. You're being asked to talk a little louder and more directly into your mic.
I don't know. How about this? Is that good?
Testing 1, 2. Anybody give us feedback? Is Mendy's audio good? All right, go for it.
Okay. Thank you, Shmuley, for hosting. And here we go. I want to preface with what Rebbe Tzimchana started her Deshimus with, that she writes, Lei Shreiber Anechi, V'lei Bas Shreiber Anechi, loosely translated as, I am not the writer of code, nor the son of a code writer. My desire here is to give over some memories of the past few years, or some experiences of the past few years. And as Rebbe Tzimchana writes, I am not sure if I will succeed. Firstly, because I'm not sure if the code will work. And secondly, because I'm actually very nervous doing this and talking to you all. So we'll see how it goes. We moved on to
Mendy. Rabbi Teldon.
Yes, I'm looking there because that's where your camera is.
No, we're happy to have you here. So take a deep breath, and it's okay. Let it roll.
Okay. We moved on Shlichus in August 2014. Within about 7 years, by last 6.5 years, I was a complete mess. To put it brief, I knew I was in a lot of debt. I was scared to answer my phone because it was probably someone asking for money that I owed them. I was scared to go to Crown Heights because I was going to bump into someone that I owed money. My house was in foreclosure. My Chabad house was in foreclosure, and life was really not fun at that time. I called in 3 close balabatim, my closest friends, and I really just cried out to them and said, I can't continue doing this. And they said to me, Mendy, are you in debt? Yes. I told them everything. I told them about foreclosure. I told them I'm on food stamps. I told them every dirty detail. And they said, what's your debt? And I said, I don't know, probably 150, maybe even $200,000. Like, wow. What's your monthly budget? I said, I think about $15,000, $20,000 a month. So they said, they gave me homework of 2 weeks, come back with the real numbers and go through all the pile of bills on my desk and really figure out where I'm at. And that's the first time I opened up an Excel spreadsheet, and I started entering numbers. And within 2 weeks, I came to the bitter or wide eye-opening realization that my debt was $425,000. And my monthly budget was about $30,000. So I was completely off base, and that was part of the chaos. That I had no idea what was coming and going. I would get a loan before I was even able to pay the loan back, or I took $5,000 to pay that guy back, and while it was in my account, I had completely forgotten that another check hit and the money got lost. So it was complete chaos. So I started doing this. I started just really being honest with numbers. Numbers don't lie. I mean, you can lie about numbers, but the numbers themselves don't lie. And I first started doing it with my debt. Then I started doing it with a monthly budget. And over the last 6-7 years, that spreadsheet has evolved. I then did it with my own personal life. My own personal life was chaotic, to say the least. And I had no clue. Like, if you would tell me I needed $80,000 to live, is that a lot or a little? If I need $150,000, I mean, I always needed more money. The question was, what does more look like? Is more another $10,000, another $100,000? So it was the process was really to get my head wrapped around it. And hopefully over the next half hour, 45 minutes, and as you use the spreadsheet, the idea is to see the forest and the trees at the same time. You can see the entire Moised, your entire house, your family, see the big picture and the small picture in one image. So ultimately, as we hear budget snapshot number 1, the first sheet, this is the end goal. And we're not going to talk about this yet because right now all those numbers are meaningless and you're not sure what you're looking at. But ultimately, you're going to look at one piece of paper or one sheet and see everything about the finances of your Moised for the entire year and for your the income side and the expense side to see what's happening. And not only for the entire year, but also every single month. It's July. Is July going to be a difficult month? Is July going to be an easier month? Can I, there's going to be 3-4 good months saving up for 1-2 difficult months. And that will give us a real picture of where I am with my finances. This does not, I'll tell you what this sheet does not do. It does not solve your issues. It doesn't give you, the 5-hour energy shot to get up and ask for money. It will give you knowledge of how much to ask for, maybe, but it won't help you with your procrastination, which is another issue. What it will help you is if part of my problem was procrastinating because I was scared to ask. I didn't know what I was asking for. Should I ask for 10, for 15, for 30? It was all an abstract number. This will help you with that.
Mendy, just to jump in for a second, I know Elazar Green with the boot camp that he's running in Lancaster in a few weeks. His tagline for this year's boot camp is, "Your inability to fundraise is not a lack of talent; it's a lack of knowledge." And I think that plays right into the knowledge of numbers.
Very much. This is not QuickBooks. This is not a legal document. I have an accountant that does once a month goes in and does all my books for legal purposes and for my board. I give them those documents. If you have a system that's working for you, then you have no need for this. If you have a good CRM with a good QuickBooks and they work together, then you probably are well ahead of the game. There's some things that can help you here, but if you have a system that's working, then tweak that as opposed to learning a whole new system. This is really my brain on a piece of paper. So, feel free to tweak it. And if you learn code, I learned it the same way anyone can, Google and just playing around. You can tweak whatever you want. There's really no biblical. It's not in stone here. Anything else I have to? This is not legal or financial or investment advice. My lawyers. Nothing here is. Don't hold me responsible for anything you see here. And without further ado, let's do it. Let me just look if I missed anything. Yeah, good. So let's start on sheet number 1. Sheet number 1 is the budget snapshot. Right now, it doesn't mean anything to you. It's just red and green. Green is going to be the income side. Red is going to be the expense side. Well, we're going to come back in 40 minutes to this, and hopefully it will look a lot nicer and a lot prettier. Let's go directly to sheet number 2, personal budget. So a shliach's budget, or I'll talk about myself, it was chaotic because some stuff was coming out of Chabad's account, some stuff was coming out of personal account. I knew I was making over $100,000, but I always didn't have $1. And it didn't make sense. It just didn't make sense where the money is going. Why do I never have money? So off the bat, there's 3 different types of income. There's my salary that Chabad pays me, that a check or a transfer is transferred from Chabad's account into my personal account. And there's stuff that Chabad pays out of its own account, my rent, other such things. Again, speak to your lawyer and financial advisor about what is legal, what is not legal. But so that's the first type of income is parsonage, or Chabad's paying out of its account. Number 2 is my salary, my wife's salary. And then there's 3 possibly of other sources of income. So here, these rows, let's say you're making Chabad transfers into your account, $3,500 a month. And there you go. So my income is $3,500 a month. Let's say my wife is being paid $1,000 a month. Hold on. And now I have income from Chabad. Hold on, ignore this 8715. But here in February, let's say, $4,500 a month, Chabad is transferring into my account. Now, scroll down here. Outside sources, let's say, on average, I do a funeral every other month and I get paid $600. So let's put it over here. It's not reliable, but it's on average for the year, I get alternative income. There you go. And I tutor a kid for bar mitzvah, and they pay me also over the course of a month $150. Now they pay it to me direct, not to Chabad. Again, that's not legal advice or accounting advice. So I have Chabad paying my salary, I have alternative income, and then I have parsonage. Parsonage is coming directly out of Chabad account. It's not going into my own account. So it's being calculated separately, which that leads us to scroll down here to the expense side, the red boxes. Now in the red boxes as well, there's 3 different areas. There's this first red box. There's a second red box over here. We'll talk about these reds in a second. And there's a third red box down here. Why 3 different expense areas? Because again, there's some expenses that Chabad is paying directly out of Chabad account, and that shouldn't be calculated into the money in my account. Then there's stuff coming out of my personal account, but it's fixed expenses. Every single month, it's the exact same thing. Meaning, although I'm making $3,500 into my personal account, I can't really discuss $3,500, how to spend it. I sit down with my wife and like, okay, let's spend $3,500. By the way, already 1,000 of that or 2,000 of that is already spent before starting, because the cleaning lady, life insurance, tzedakah, those set things that I'm already paying, they're not discretionary. They're not things that I can actually decide if I want to pay it this month or not, or higher or lower. It's a set amount. So that's the second area of the spreadsheet of this sheet, calculating what is my monthly commitment of things that are automatically taken out of my account. And then there's the third sheet. The third sheet is stuff that now I can sit down and discuss with my wife. It's discretionary. Should we spend this month $1,500 on food, or $2,000 on food, or $1,000? Do the kids need tutoring? Camp. Some people take camp at a Chabad. We're not here to discuss that. Tutoring, travel, cleaners, personal beauty, a shaitel, play money. You just want to have money to go do something, entertainment, car maintenance. Some people do that at a Chabad. Your gifts. Here's stuff that is flexible month to month. So if we take this and put it across, we take this and put it across, drag that corner there. We take this and put it across. All of a sudden now, we have a bigger picture of our financial situation. Now, not automatically you put it all the way across, because let's say chinuch, tuition here, $3,000 a month, maybe more or less, but usually June and July, you're not paying that. So make sure to take that out. Now go back on top. If I'm making, now look at row number 20 here. Row number 20 is $98,000, 580 right here. D20. That's a total of the stuff Chabad is paying from its account. It doesn't even go into my account. And every month, right across here, that's how much Chabad is paying for my package, my salary. Now, this line over here, number 14, is calculating the $3,500 plus the $1,000, my wife and my salary, plus the parsonage. So the parsonage, right, this line here, 20, is pulling all these numbers. So 13,215 is including these three numbers. My personal income, my salary, my wife's salary, parsonage, that is what Chabad has to pay me a month. So if you are putting your Chabad budget, how much does Chabad have to be prepared to pay me each month? It's 13,215, made up number. But by the way, I actually have other income down here, funerals, bar mitzvahs, and $150 from tutoring that to pay me directly. So I have an additional $750 on top of that. So that's what 12 does. 12 takes all your income from Chabad, parsonage, and outside sources and puts it all together. 13,965, hypothetically. All right. Now, how do I spend 13,965? That's a lot of money. $14,000 a month, which if you see here, row 3D, that's almost $160,000 a year. That looks pretty respectable. But here's where the fun starts. The fun starts that of that money, here, line number 8 calculates the discretionary income. You don't have $13,000 to spend because.
Man, do you use another word for discretionary?
Discretionary means stuff that I get to decide what I want to do with it. Your cell phone bill is not discretionary. It's paid every month. You have no opinion about it. Your food, or if you want to go out for dinner tonight or not, that's discretionary. So being that these two red boxes, and if I'm getting too complicated, I'm just going to summarize. These two boxes, this whole red area and this whole red area, I have no opinion about. It's not discretionary. So the $14,000 that I made this month is not really $14,000. It's actually, I only have $2,700 left. So when I sit down with my wife, I'm not talking about $14,000. I'm only talking about $2,700. So that's what.
Just a quick question. You mentioned a couple of times, sit down with your wife. Is that an important part of this process that you actually discuss the money with your wife?
It can't work successfully unless you're on the same team, or else you're going to be fighting. You're constantly going to be fighting, and you're going to make a budget, and it's not going to work out because the person who's probably spending most of that $2,700 is going to want to have $3,500 or $4,000, and it's going to be a constant battle. So ideally, you should be on the same page. Not just ideally. It's impossible if you're not on the same page.
Do you coach that as well?
and above my pay grade.
We'll keep going.
Okay. Now, if this sheet works out beautifully, if I commit to all these numbers, that's a beautiful thing. That means at the end of the year, I have $6,800 here, D5, I have $6,800 extra, which I can then put in savings or save for next year, or maybe there's other expenses here that I would like to add to. Spend more on food, clothing, etc. Right, so row number 3 is my income, row number 4 is the expenses, row number 5 is how much I have left over at the end of the month. But that line could be confusing, because let's say in March, I have a surprise $4,000, not a surprise, I know, a $4,000 cleaner's bill. I made that up, $4,000, right? It just calculated, look back at top now, row number 6, it just calculated March is gonna be a really rough month. Because I have this crazy bill, so although I'm making $13,000, almost $14,000, but I'm in the deficit for $3,000 here. G5 shows me that month I'm in deficit, but thank God, because January and February I had extra money, so March is not gonna be a $4,000 headache, it's only gonna be a $2,000 headache. So maybe I can ask the cleaners to do $2,000 this month, and you guys mind if I do $2,000 this month? Which now June's going to be a little tight. But you can start moving some finances around to make sure that all the line number 6 always has to be green. Because you're not spending on a credit card, so you can't spend something you don't have. If you don't have the money, you can't do it. You just can't do it. You can't make up money. So line number 6, that's your barometer. But here's a crucial thing. At the end of May, you have $1,100. Don't get excited. Don't get excited. Hey, I have $1,100 in my account. I'm going to go run and spend money. You can't, because remember, next month, you have a deficit of $1,700, and you're going to rely on the extra from May to spend it in June. So now that you have the whole picture of the whole year, you're not just looking like a Dave Ramsey, this month, what do I have? I have the entire picture of the whole year, and I can move things around, maybe, to make sure that line number 6 is constantly green. All right, so that is the personal finances. The best way I think I could do. Now, some shluchim have a set salary, and they're getting X amount, and their boss or whoever they're working for is not very flexible, or for this year it's already set in stone. You got to make sure that box D5 is not a negative, because then you're just going into debt. So you got to either cut expenses or drive for Uber or something, but bring in more money to make sure that doesn't end up in zero. If you're a guy who's making up his own salary, you can start, maybe make this into $4,000 and go across, and maybe you're talking need more money. But at least this will give you a gauge of what does more money mean? How much more money do I need? This, over the course of the year, by December 31st, it tells you what you're going to have. And now you have to implement that into every single month. Make sure that you're in the black every single month. Shmuel did that, all those complicated words. So for me, this is like 8 years of mind games spilling out in 10 minutes. Did that make sense?
In the black means I'm not in debt.
In the black means not in the red, which means not in debt.
Red means debt, and you're good.
All right.
I had one question. When you say, so just like, you realize you're not making enough money, so just take more money. Where does that more money come from? So
if you're a guy who makes his own salary, you're the head of the moisid, you decide your own salary, then you have that flexibility to earn more money if Chabad can afford it. If you're working for someone else, you have to sit down with him. And I was talking with another shliach who was going to his, I don't know the technical term for it, but the guy who signs his checks, and he was up for a conversation about a salary, and he put the numbers here and he says, listen, I just need this amount of money. Tell me where to cut. Tell me where to cut. And by presenting this to your employer or your mitarbeiter, then he'll have to start telling you where to cut.
Bring it back to the tent. I didn't mean to get sidetracked there.
Right.
You said it with such simplicity. It was almost like geschmack. No credit cards and take more money. I like the way it sounded.
Life is good.
Yes.
Okay. So now there's two more parts of the personal finances. And I scroll down here to row 65 through 68. These are red. These boxes are red because they're actually pulling the data from somewhere else. Row 65 is about personal debt. And with that, we're going to switch over here to sheet number 3. Looks a little overwhelming, and it is.
And I know you're not watching the comment box, but Asif just posted, "This is great." So.
Oh, yeah. Keep my ego inflated, please, because I'm doubting myself here. Personal debt. So in full transparency, sheet number 3 and 4 I added later on. You don't have it on your sheet. Those that I work with one-on-one have access to this sheet. But the personal debt calculator hopefully is not relevant to you. But if it is, it's not in the original sheet. I only added it after time. And for those that I schmooze with, have access to it. So if you were me, I had $400,000 of debt. I wish I had this thing 8 years ago because it didn't make sense. So thanks to Googling Excel algorithms, I made this sheet. And for those that are in debt, this is how it works. Over here, row 26, I put in Visa number 4479. That's a Visa. I owe $5,000. Let's say it's an 18% APR. It automatically calculates here that the minimum payment is $150. Usually a credit card is 3% minimum payment. So they're going to require me to pay $150. If I do that, it's going to take me many years to pay it off. So let's say I decide for this credit card. No, let's pretend we only have one credit card debt. This credit card, I'm going to pay $300 a month. Let's just make it easier. The debt is $2,500. $2,500 at 18%. The minimum payment is $75, but I'm going to put $250. Right? $250 a month towards it. Over here, credit card 1, this sheet. Oh, it's going to squish it. This sheet calculates for me. Because I'm zoomed in, you can't really see the full. It's eating it. All right. This sheet calculates for me right over here now. Right. So 12 months. 12 months. The total interest that I'm paying on this thing, as I pay it off, I'm paying an additional interest of $229. This extra on top of that debt. By the end of the year, I'm going to pay $3,000. Right, if I was doing 12 months, but I don't. So let's do $200. Oops. So it's $272 interest dollars. Over the year, I'm going to be paying $2,400, which will almost pay off the whole debt. And that will get close to the end. How much is going to be debt at the end? Why does it not take? Something's off with the math here. I apologize. But let's say, so I know now I have to pay $200 for this card. Let's say I have an Amex. And the Amex, I owe $750 at 21%. The monthly payment is going to have to be $2,250. I'm going to pay $50 a month. And it's going to take me, let's go over here to a second calculator. Here we go. It's going to take me 17 months to pay it off. And this year, I'm only paying $505. The debt paid down is only going to be $505 because part of my paying down my debt is going to be towards interest, the kitzer. This number here, March H25, is how much I'm committing to pay every month. You know, I want to pay $200 for this credit card, $50 for this credit card, which means $250. Up here, it automatically calculates it that every single month, which card am I paying what? Right, row 10 and 11, every single month, how much I have to pay. I also have interest-free loans. My father gave me a loan, my brother-in-law gave me a loan, which is a total of $680. If I pay $25 a month towards that, it's going to take me 27 months to pay it all off. This year, I'm only going to have to pay $300. At the end of the year, I'm still going to owe $380. But this number 25 is being pulled up to here telling me every month I have to pay $25. And the same thing with outstanding bills. I have 3 outstanding bills equaling $205. If I pay $70 a month towards that, by the end of the year, I'll have it paid off. Again, pulling that up to here, 17. So what this sheet basically does is calculates every month, row number 3 is adding up all those things. How much am I paying each month? And then feeding it into my personal budget, 292 over here, that's automatically planted into it. So I know I'm getting 2467 in the beginning of the month, but by the way, 292 is already going towards debt. I got to get out of debt. So that's what sheet number 3 is doing. Sheet number 4 is both fun and scary at the same time.
So pause for some love before you go there. 2 more comments. Really geschmack to hear and see. That's one shliach. Another one writes, thank you, Mendy, for sharing. This is helpful, and your story is also inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you.
Keep going.
Yeah. So we all have Baruch Hashem, God bless. We have children, and we have Simcha. So I have, Baruch Hashem, I already did a bar mitzvah and a bas mitzvah, and it's scary how you're paying for it. We use some of the gifts that came in. We use a lot of the gifts that came in for paying for the event. Family helped out, and then we've got to figure out the rest. So I have a bar mitzvah in 3 months. Thank God I put a little bit on the side, but I have another bar mitzvah in a couple of years, and then there's weddings. And they come, God willing, sooner than later, and they cost money, a lot of money. So let's say, and this is not based on any real number, it's costing anywhere from $35,000 to $50,000 for a wedding. I don't know where you live, but let's just say. And it's costing 15 to 20 grand for bar mitzvah, bas mitzvah, and, politically incorrect here, but the day will come when we have the golden years, when we're not as productive on the fundraising side as we thought we once were, and our kids moved out and they took over, and we're not raising the same amount of money and taking the same salary. So we would like a nest egg to help us out. God forbid, not retiring, God forbid, but just begashmis, we slow down, we can't raise that money. So a couple months ago, I all of a sudden realized, hey, I got to do something about it. But how? Like, how much do I start? What do I need? I've, God bless, 4 kids times 4 bar weddings is $160,000 plus bar mitzvahs, retirement, or golden eggs, or whatever you want to call that term. It's like millions of dollars. So where does that come from? Now, I don't know what my parents do, and I don't know what your parents do, and I don't know what senior shluchim do. I have no idea. My attitude was, until this point, was, I don't know, I figured it out now, and I'll figure it out then, and Hashem will take care of me, and we'll live happily ever after. And I thought maybe, just maybe, I'll try to figure out how to come up with a number. So this is what I did, if you can follow along here. Let's say Tzvi. Tzvi is over here, row 11D. Tzvi is 10 years old. 3 years till his bar mitzvah. I want $15,000 for his bar mitzvah. Let's say. You can change that if you want to $10,000. Let's say you want to include tefillin. You must get those custom leather tefillin bags. I think it's in the Torah, somewhere in Leviticus. Thou shalt get leather, something like that, right? So now, because you're getting leather tefillin bags, it's $18,000. And you tell yourself, the year of the bar mitzvah, in 3 years, I think there's a balabas then that, who loves me a lot, and I can go to him for $5,000. All right. So he's going to give me $5,000. So I don't need to come up with $18,000. I only need to really come up with $13,000. The good news is that I have $1,000 put aside. And if I put it in a good account, let's say over the next 3 years, I can get 3% interest on that. Open a Vanguard account and get 3% interest. So this number here, 11,906, is calculating for you how much money do you need to come up with. You don't need $18,000 because you have this $5,000, which makes it $13,000. You have $1,000 currently, that makes it $12,000, but you're actually only getting $94 in interest in the next 3 years on that $1,000. So you really need 11,906. Beautiful. If you want that money, you need to put aside for the next 3 years $316 in an account. Being that it's a month. Being that it's a short-term investment, a Vanguard account or whatever it is, you're not getting a lot of interest on it. So you'll ultimately be putting aside $11,393, which will grow and the interest will be $513, and you'll have this number of $11,906. I hope this is all making sense. But you say to yourself, I can't do $316 a month. That's just too much. I can't do that. Therefore, I'm not going to do anything. That was my attitude. Being that I can't do $316, I'm doing 0. So I added these 3 columns. What could I do? Could I do 100? 100 would mean $1,200 a year. If I put $1,200 a year aside for the next 3 years, that will equate $3,762. That's not the $11,906 that I need, but you know what? It's $3,762 closer to my goal. And if I do that with all my kids, so for my next kid, Tzipora, she's 7. She's having a bas mitzvah in 5 years. Maybe the bas mitzvah will cost less, especially I don't have to get the leather tefillin bag. So, and for bas mitzvah, let's say I can get, $4,000 from a balabas. So I only need $6,000, and I have $500 sitting in savings. And being that it's in 5 years, so maybe I can get a 6% return on my investment. So I have to put $76 aside. Hey, I can do that. $76. Maybe I can't, so I'm going to do $50 a month. $50 a month, which now means that practically I'm putting $150 a month aside for the simchas. Now comes weddings. Weddings, Mushka's 18. I got to prepare. I don't know, I'm not in that stage yet, but let's say 3 years. Got to be prepared. Let's say 2 years. I don't know, 2 years. David's 15, a wedding at 23. It's costing me $35,000. Let's do a better one. Levi is 4. So wedding's in 19 years. By then, a wedding is going to be $45,000, right? I'll be able to go to that same balabas and get $10,000. So I really need $35,000. I have 0 savings now. I have nothing. I need to come up with $35,000. But 7%, I can get a 7% on investment. I'm going to again reiterate that this is not financial advice. So if I put down $73 a month for the next 19 years, wedding's paid for. But I got a lot of other stuff going on, so I can't do that, so I'm going to do $50 a month. So $50 a month, which is $600 a year, will equate our $23,000 by the time they get married, hopefully at the age of 23. So it's not $35,000, but it's $23,000. And what the point of this sheet is just telling you, A, it's a big cost. You can rely on the balabas paying for it. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Might not help you sleep well at night, but here at least gives you a picture of how much money you're going to need and a step to how to get there. Again, it's not solving your issue. $50 a month is not $73 a month, but and Mushka's wedding, if she's 18 and the wedding's in 2 years, and her wedding's costing $35,000, and I only have $10,000 to put towards it, and I'm not getting much interest, 2% maybe in a CD, I need to put $1,000 aside now to get to that number. Or else you're putting your wedding on a credit card, which is unethical. Now here's the completely politically incorrect area, the golden years. My mother got upset at me when I showed this to her. How much does it cost you to live now? Adjusted for inflation when you are slowing down and you're more into, visiting the Einiklach and or the Einiklach, God willing. How much do you need to live? Adjusted for inflation, I'm throwing a number, $150,000. How much do you think you can reliably get from Chabad at that age? I don't know. Let's say $40,000. So you have $110,000 you got to come up with somewhere, or else you're not visiting the Einiklach. To have an account that's giving you $110,000 a year, you need 15 times that amount in an account to get that interest of, let's say, 7%. So, and again, I'm making this up, the numbers. You got to speak to a financial advisor. You need an account with $1.6 million in it to be able to take $110,000 a year. I'm 40. I want to visit my Einiklach full-time when I'm 70. So I got 30 years to figure this stuff out at 8% interest because it's a long-term investment. I need to put $1,100 aside to get to that number. Can't do that. It's too much. All right, that's a lot of money. Put $300 aside. Open an IRA, Roth IRA, all these fancy words that make me confused. And putting $300 aside a month, which is $36 a year, $3,600, in 30 years will be $447,000. Now realize that you only put 100,000, 3,600 times 30, you're only putting aside about $100,000, but the interest is making it 447, which at that time, you'll get an annual income of $30,000. Not a lot, it's something. And instead of having 40,000 of income from Chabad, you'll have an additional 30,000, making it 70. So this is all confusing. I want to just bare my soul here. I never had an investment in my life until 4 months ago, because all these terms of compound interest and Roth IRAs and IRAs, it made me confused and nauseous and feeling like a total loser, that I didn't know what those words meant. And I remember I walked into the local Chase Bank, and the private client, equity client booth there is a Yid, and we're friendly. So after 3 years of giving him matzah and latkes and everything else, I gathered the courage to say, Adam, let's go out for coffee. We went out for coffee. I'm like, just talk to me. You're off the record. Just give me everything. So I opened a Vanguard account, which was kind of a mess in its own right. And I did it completely wrong in the beginning. But once I did it, it started. Now I had $400 in an account. I just started learning about it. And now I actually have it in 3 days. Monday, I just set it up this month, automated. The second of each month, Vanguard takes a little money out of my account and invests it. I'm not retiring on it, and I'm not paying for weddings with it, but at least it started the process that I'm being fiscally responsible. It's not thousands. It's not. But I got over that fear of, I'm going to do it wrong. I can't do this. I'm just not going to do anything. Just start with something. There's also an app that called Acorns, which takes like $5 a week or out of your spending account and just invest it. Just get yourself in the mindset of putting aside money. Now, after all that, so this is over here, P 5, 6, and 7 is a total of what you committed to investing each month. For bar mitzvahs, I'm putting 150, right? That's adding up here. For weddings, I'm putting 700. For my golden years, I'm putting 300. Those numbers are being pulled back into sheet number 2. You see here, 150, 700, 300. And that way, when you sit down with your wife and say, hey, we got 2,417 to spend, it's not true. Because 292 is going towards debt, and the 1,150 is going towards savings. How much do you have left? I don't know. Got to figure that out. So it just gives you a lot deeper realization of reality. It's like, okay, now what do we do? Now what do we do?
I think give us a time frame. How much time do you think you need till we get towards the end and open up for questions? I want on to the clock here.
I just noticed the clock.
We're not rushing you. I just want to get an idea.
I'm going to say 10, 15 minutes.
Okay. So if anybody has to click off at 1:45, the recording will be available. If you can stick with us, please do.
Thank you for bringing me back to earth. Okay, here's the fun sheet. This is really the coolest sheet.
Just a quick question on what you just ended with. So once all those cheshbonos are done, is that the time to go back to my salary and say, am I truly paying myself? If I have to take all this into consideration, then if I'm priding myself on getting by each month, and that's why I'm good, I really have to be looking at things differently. Because getting by each month...
I'm getting by now, and I'm not paying off debt, and I'm not putting money aside. Well, if you're paying your own salary, start taking more now so you don't have to come up with 50 grand in a couple of years. If someone else is paying your salary, you can tell them, sir, either I can do a couple $100s a month now, or you're going to have to find me a way to raise money in 3 years to pay for a wedding. I think it's fiscally more responsible to up my salary now.
Right. And stop me if I'm jumping the gun, but I don't see anything here for out-of-town tuition.
So again, this sheet is customizable. It's here, tuition. Tuition's right here. You calculate all your tuition. There's a line here for school airline tickets, but yeah, whatever your tuition bill is, go across here.
Right. Okay.
All right. Donor projection. Here's a fun one. Let's say it's January 1st. I want to know what my budget is for this year, what my income is. Forget expenses. What's my income for the year? I go to a guy, ask him once a year or 3 times a year. Each balabas is different, and it's never reliable. I think it's not reliable what they're giving or how much they're giving or when they're giving, and therefore it's kind of every day I'm like, okay, who can I call today? Which is chaotic, and you can't build a system on that. So I sit down January 1st or June 27th, and I say, okay, Portnoy, 2018, he gave me $18,000, then gave me $18,000 before that. What does he do? He likes giving me quarterly. So the light green column is hopefully. What do I hope is going to happen? And he gives me quarterly, 4,500. Biggest guy. March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. 4,500. Now look over here to the left. Column number D is calculating that number. It's calculating how much am I hopeful I'm going to get from the guys this year. There's another guy that gives me 1,500 a month. I don't have such a guy, but hypothetically, right? And I go across and I paste it in the light green column or the white column and all the way across. Next guy, we're going to do 3 more, does 150. Next guy does 80. The next guy does 36. And these are my biggest balabatim. Oops, hold on. I just ruined the code, the graphics, which is bothering me. 80 and 36. Oh. See, I'm under pressure and I'm messing up. All right, so I go across here.
There was a comment before that you were letting your humor shine through, so we'll focus on that.
Okay. All right. Thank you, whoever's noticing my humor. Now, there's one guy, probably one of my bigger balabatim, that give me $10 quarterly. And with that, we conclude. No, but sometimes he forgets to give me the 4th quarter. So you have here, if you can do this with your top 20, 50, 100, or all your balabatim, what you do is on January 1st, you're able to project, column D, that I have $40,000 that I can rely on. I know it's there. Based on last year's, I'm not making up numbers because in column F and G, I know what I'm basing it on, and I can base it that this year I probably can do it. Now, some guys do it monthly, some guys do it annually, some guys do it before a Yom Tov, and I put it in each column where I think it's going to happen. Now, I'm sitting and I can see, oh, in March is a good month, right? I can see each month where the donations are. Now, I sit down with Portnoy and he says, you know what, Rabbi, this year, I can't do 4,500, I'm doing 4,000. So I put in the dark green, 4,000, because that's my reality. 4,000, and now I see in column E that 16,000, not 18,000. And now the good news is I have to sync my hope with my reality. So I have to go back to the 4,500 and change it to 4,000 because I can no longer hope that I'm getting 4,500 from him. And as the year progresses, and I start filling in the gray column, and the E column will start getting higher and higher. And now I see each month what is real, what can I really rely on, and where can I still hopefully go. So Goldstein said 150. I'm hoping 150. I have to talk to him pretty soon at the beginning of January to get that commitment. And once he commits, I know with complete faith in March I'm getting $4,000 because I already spoke to Portnoy and he's giving 4,000. If I spoke with this guy and he committed this 1,500 and this 150, and this guy said he's doing 75 this year, so it's 75 and this is 36, then bang, I know in March I've committed 5,700. I know it's coming in. I don't have to sweat it. I just got to go pick up the check. And it's giving me a very clear understanding of every single month what's happening. Now, some balabatim I don't get through to. Some balabatim I don't, they change their mind. Got it. This is not signed and sealed. But what it does is at the end of January, I go back and you know what? Maybe I delete this guy, those two numbers there, because he didn't give it. So I have to realign my reality that they didn't give. But if I could do this with 100 balabatim, I can see $300,000, $250,000, 380, $1 million, whatever your budget is. I can see where it's coming from and and when am I getting it. Before Pesach, wow, I need to shift money. Hey, I actually did this. I showed this sheet to Balabas, and I said, you give me, talking my largest Balabas, 13,000 in January and 13,000 in July. Can you back the July up to April? Because I have a deficit in May. You help me when you give it to me in July, I catch up. But if you give it back to me in April, you'll make a world of a difference. And he's like, okay. He didn't do it this year, but last year he did it. And that helped me because I can show him. We're not working at a deficit here. I just need a cash flow. So back it up a month. And this will help you see all that. This is a beautiful sheet to refer back to. The beginning of each month. Who am I going to in April? You both know who your dreams are, who you would like to, and who has already committed. Sheet number 6. Sheet number 6 I actually made last year in Lancaster. Yay, Elazar Green. Nice 3 days in Lancaster. He's doing, I think, next week or in 2 weeks. He's doing another one.
Youth Bay's Tammuz, and if you're thinking about going, there aren't too many spots left.
Yeah, it was an excellent 3 days. Thank you, Elazar. Part of his whole thing there was not losing touch with the Balabatim. Many times it happened that I want to call the guy for money. I'm like, shoot, I haven't spoken to him since the last time I asked him for money. And now it's just awkward. So if I sit down in January and I plot out my year. Now, the way this sheet is set up is that when I write something here, a box pops up. So you don't want to type on this side here. And when you delete it, the box disappears. So Portnoy, I want to bring him, I don't want to bring him matzah in January, but I want to invite him for dinner in January. I am going to bring him Shalach Manis in March, matzah in Pesach, cheesecake for Shavuos, Gimel Tammuz. I'm going to call him from the oil and say, I want to daven for you. September, I'm going to bring him honey cake. I'm bringing him challah in Sukkot. I'm going to stop by his office to do lulav. And then November, I'll bring him challah. And then December, I'll bring him latkes. And by doing that, I can sit down and see Portnoy. This is where I'm touching base with him the whole year. I stick in here that his birthday is 4/23. It's his birthday, so I know when his birthday is on the cultivation schedule. I know that he projected, I want him to give 16. He already committed 16, so I have that information in front of me. And as I go through it, I have all my balabatim here. May comes, I look at, or July starts, I look at the balabatim, I see who do I have to talk to this month. I've it laid out very clearly. Who do I talk with? And it's pulling the information from the previous sheet. So you don't need to re-enter anything here. It's pulling it from there, inserting it here. Now on top, this is in honor of you, the top 10 guys that I'm cultivating that haven't given me money yet. Who are my 10 guys and how am I cultivating them? I don't even know their names yet. So job number 1 is to learn their name. Then the next guy, learn his name. And I'm sorry, I didn't say before. As you do it, you just click off that you've done it. And you're charting your success here. So here is your cultivation, your touch point, how you're cultivating your balabatim. Pretty, I think, self-explanatory. Now here's Chabad income, sheet number 7. Exactly what you did for the donations, do for tuition. Do for your calendar ads. Do for events. JLI brings in X amount each month. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, not Yom Kippur, holiday seats, you bring it over here. Random donations, etc. This is your income from the year. It's all being pulled up automatically onto these sheets here. And now, and it's pulling up the donations from the donation page, the projection of what your donors are giving. And here you have, on January 1st, all your whole year, every month, I think that's self-explanatory. To it, name, or you can report of how much, but the more you have, it takes more time, but the more on top of your game you'll be. Sheet 8 is Chabad expenses, self-explanatory. Go through all your stuff. Don't lie about anything. Don't lie. It's put everything in. Can you see? I just got a thing that says my internet connection is unstable. Can you see me?
Keep going. It was shaky for a moment, but you're back on.
All right. So this is all your expenses. Put it all in. The year, the month. If you put everything in here. Let us just, for conversation's sake, let's do 5,000 here. Oops, 5,000. It's not. Oops. Just to populate the numbers on top. Now, if you notice, it's pulling your debt from the next page, but it's calculating your salary automatically. It's pulling your salary from the other sheets, what you and your wife are getting plus parsonage. It's not including your tutoring and your funerals because that's not coming out of Chabad's account. It's only including what Chabad has to pay you. Your parsonage, you and your wife's salary. Occupancy is costing you with rent, with your mortgage, with whatever. And let's just make up another number. Hebrew school is costing you for security $5,000 a year. And programs are costing you also. You do a lot of sushi at Friday Night Services. All right, here's your budget. Now you scroll back up here. These are all your expenses for the year. Obviously fake numbers, but you have all your expenses. Chabad debt, this is not on everyone's sheet, this is only on the one-on-one sheet, but you do the same system as before, figure out your debt, and feeds it right into here. So your debt is already calculated. Now that you've done all this, which could take you 4, 5, 6 hours, and the first time you do it will take a lot of time. It will really take you a lot of time because you want to be as honest and detailed as possible. But, hold on one second. Let's just put in a number to make it more real. Chabad income, donor projection. Let's say we're doing here 15. I'm just putting a number so that it populates it on the other end. All right, so once you've done all this, you've entered all your information, you come back to sheet number 1. We'll get to sheet number 10 in a second. Sheet number 1, oh, we went overboard. 340, hold on. 6,000, 7,000. Okay, hold on, let me do one more thing. Donor projection. Let's do, this guy is giving 7,000. All right, so you've done your donor projections. You know all your income from all different sources. You know your expenses, you know your salary, you know everything. This is your budget for the year. It all comes together. Everything's here. Every single month. Now, you got a problem. Because January, you're down $410, but by the time you get to May, you're in the black, you're in the red, 12,000. So, although at the end of the year, this is what my year looked like. By December 31st, I was paid up. I had $10,000 in the account, but it was hell to get there. So I got to figure out, is some guy giving me $10,000 in December? Right, let's go back to the donor. Right, although let's say over here, June is a great month, right? June, I-5, there's an $8,000 surplus in June. But that doesn't matter because there was a $9,000 deficit in May and a $9,000 deficit in February, so I'm always operating from behind. So we just found the problem. December 31st, you're doing good, but starting from January 1st, you're playing catch up. So I got to go back, donor touch point, donor projection, find a guy giving me $10,000 in December and saying, hey, sir, take $10,000 from there and back it up to January. Want to see a magic trick? Look what happens now. Boom. I'm sitting pretty. Because I got a $9,000 surplus in January, even though February is rough because I have a $9,000 negative, but I'm still carrying from January. March is a good month. I have an extra. April, a good month. You know what? May is going to be a little tough. May, I got $2,600 deficit. We got to figure that out. So I got to find someone else maybe from November now and back November up. If I can take $5,000 from November, let's do that. Let's try that. Ready? $6,000 from November. Donor projection. November, we'll get $9,000 here, and he'll give it instead in March, and life is good. All green. Even though I have 2, 4, 5 months that I'm operating at a deficit, but I've moved my income to the beginning. So the roughest month is going to be July. I'm still good. It's a $10,000 deficit in July, but I've accumulated enough surplus that come July. So you're able to do this only when you have the whole picture in front of you. If you're functioning month to month, you don't know what the month before, the month afterwards. You can have a great month this month and have $8,000 in the account. I'm like, $8,000 in the account. That's great. Maybe I'll fix the air conditioner. You can't fix the air conditioner. You don't have that in the budget because the $8,000 that you have at the end of June is going to have to help you in July. So don't spend anything.
Mendy, quick question and a short answer, if you may.
Go.
How did your donors respond when you asked them to back up their gifts?
Mostly positive. Mostly positive. Some guys like, Rabbi, I just can't. You know, one guy says, you know, if I sell the house, I'll give it to you. Hold on, I'm getting verklempt here. If I could, I could. But if if you have these numbers in front of you and you own them, and there's not one lie here, there's no misrepresentation, there's no fudging the numbers, you can explain every penny here. And you tell the guy, look, at the end of the year, we have $11,000. We're cool. It's just July is rough because the cash flow is high holidays. If you can give your high holiday donation in June, life is pretty. So that is bringing all that information and putting it back into the first sheet. You see all your income, you see all your expenses, you see how it plays itself out, and you can feel comfortable with, you can sleep at night, both knowing how the year is going to pay out, how this month is going to play out, and you know what you're talking about.
Okay, where are we holding as far as bringing this to a grand?
All right, so I'll be very brief on number 10. Let me zoom out and just stop. Very brief because it's an independent thing. It's not tied into the other things. This is basically for nerds like me, a month-to-month thing. If it calculates here on the top left. I need for this month 35,000. I have to manually go to my budget and put it in. It's sorry that the code hasn't been written yet. That it's going to automatically feed it. I don't know how to do that. But I need 35,000. This 35,000 is calculating all these expenses. No, let me do this first. You go all through your expenses here. You list them all out of this month, and month to month they change. No, I don't have holidays this month, etc. You list it all out. What the total of that amount is. What date of the month you have to give it, and here, top left, it's telling you the entire amount you need for the month, how much you've paid so far. Because as the month goes through, you start entering here. I paid the credit card processing fee. I paid already, $500. But let's say gas for my car, I only paid $150 so far because I'm only halfway through the month, which means I still need a $150. Right? It's still calculating for me how much do I still need. So I need a total this month of $34,000. I already paid $4,000, which means I still need $30,000 in my bank account. These three white boxes is where I enter the information. What's in my bank account? I have a check in my hand of $560. I charged a card this morning of $180, which means really I have $1,745 adding up these three. Even though I have $1,745 in the account, but I sent out a check of $355 this morning, so I can't really spend $1,745. It's really only $1,390. But let's say I sent out the taxes this morning of $1,919. Bang! I really have no money, right? Because although I have 17 in the account, but I can't spend any of it. But so the current balance for the month is taking the total amount due, subtracting from it the money I have in my account. So I really need to come up with $28,000 somewhere. But down here, I list who committed already this month, and I have $6,500 of commitments. So my balance at the end of the month is 22. And I'm hopeful about these guys. I didn't speak to them, but these are the hopeful guys for this month. And if they come through, I'll have $14,000. So let's say I have Rothman, God willing, giving $15,000. Oh, now I have $228.
How often are you updating this monthly doc?
This document is the first thing I do when I come into the office in the morning.
Every morning.
Every morning, but it takes me 3 minutes.
Once you get your finger on it.
Once you know it, and because there's how many bills are you paying a day? How many hits are there in your account a day? 10 maximum, 7, 5. You have a mice of my size, so you change it, and now this square right here gives you a complete picture of where you are financially at the moment. God bless you all. I hope this was productive. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I'll stick around if you have questions.
Oh, so Mendy, thank you. First of all, for those who saw it and engaged.
I went 20 minutes over here.
No, you're good. Before we move to Q&A, those who are still on the line with us, please take a moment to share your feedback with Mendy. If there's a thanks or a particular thanks, go ahead and type it in. I'll read it out loud. So we have a beyond amazing thank you. Can you send us this worksheet? We'll get to that in a minute. Amazing, thank you. I don't know what amazing means, so if you want to describe what you mean by amazing, go ahead and type it out. Anybody else feedback? How long did it take you to make? I really like this. Thank you for that comment.
How long did it take me to make? Well, I started 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. I learned it. I mean, the truth is, since I emailed it out 2 weeks ago, I've tweaked it a lot, but it took me, I don't know, 100 hours.
Here's a comment. Exactly what I need to see and hear at this point of Mashlicha is very helpful by knowing that it can be very masudar. Got around to put up mezuzahs. Great presentation. It's the kind of thing I love to do, but takes way too much time.
Okay.
I hear you.
Yeah, it does take a lot of time. The first time you're going to do it, it's going to take you a lot of time. The first time, you gotta get all your information together and manually enter it. This year's budget is 95% like next year's budget. And this year's balabatim are probably, I mean, hopefully you have more, but the ones that you have already, 95% like next year's giving. And therefore, I mean, maybe hopefully they'll give a little bit more, but you don't have to redo the whole sheet every year. Once you do it the first time, it naturally evolves itself. And the month to month, once you enter the information the first time, then it takes 5 minutes in the morning. So
thank you. I've played around a lot with Google Docs and budgets, then wondered about long-term pictures. This brings it all together. I see your chinuch worked out well. This is an amazing piece of work. Hope to be able to get myself to the point to be able to do this. Nice.
I'd like to thank Mendel Shantov and the Detroit staff for teaching me how to do code and Excel between.
Do you offer to go through this with one-on-one coaching? Yes, Rabbi Teldon does. Reach out to him. Mendy, type your email address into the, that's funny because the comment, that's exactly what his intention was. Good. Type your email address, but send it to panelists and attendees. Reset that to who it goes to. Can you share a bit of what you did to begin the process of getting out of debt? That's
What did I do to get out of debt? I looked in the mirror and had a very difficult conversation with the guy looking back at me. It wasn't easy. It was painful, but to get out of debt, and yeah, $425,000 is hell. There's no way to describe it different. It's hell. And
you
gotta own it. You gotta own it.
My perspective on that?
On hell?
No.
The only way through hell
on your early steps.
Go ahead.
It was, if my memory serves me correctly, it was once you got your numbers down, you reviewed your list of who do I have that's got my back, and you shifted your game to being upfront with them, not a nebuch, I'm desperate, bail me out, but rather I'm doing this properly, and finding greater confidence in yourself and in them. They started stepping up to the plate. They were following your lead. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, the four guys that I met with, they weren't fazed. They weren't shocked. I mean, they were blown away that like it was that much. But I'm trying to think. One is they're all very close. I mean, over the last 8 years, we've all gone. 3 of them moved away, not because of this, but they've moved on. But we're close friends. They've given more. It started a very long process. I now have a board that I show all my everything to. They voted on my salary. I mean, I don't get it yet, but they approved me a salary of $175,000, which is where I would like to get. But once they see that I was accountable and I presented them real life living expense, they said, yeah, 175 is a reasonable salary. And honestly, we preach it all the time, and I wasn't living it for many years, but Aleph Mem, their Aleph Mem are all standing on 2 legs. I'm getting preachy. You don't have to be scared about truth. Like it's such a beautiful thing. All right, Shmuel, you should shut me up.
No. I was going to say, now I should bring Shalom Moshe back on in the 2 of you because I bring it away.
We commiserate. Yes, we're 30 miles from each other, and there was many a times that we were throwing checks back and forth.
So, Mendy, I want to share. Thank you for your edelkeit and different things you touched upon in the presentation. Your Asias were very easy for shluchim to swallow, especially around the golden egg. But other, I think you can coin that term, by the way.
Golden egg. Yeah. So if anyone has more questions, I can't commit to like walk everybody through the process, but
I do want to mention somebody made a comment earlier that they use a program called YNAB. I think it's some sort of a budgeting program, and they said that it would work really well with what he's talking about.
Say the program again.
YNAB. Somebody typed it earlier.
YNAB. Okay. So. Someone else says I see Mint app. Yeah, Mint does a lot of similar things like this. Mint, although it's a lot smaller. A lot of this is based on Mint. It's based on Dave Ramsey, whatever. You know, put Dave Ramsey in your bathroom as opposed to Zman magazine. I don't know if that was a legal endorsement.
You just blew the whole Eidlichkeit from the bathroom.
Those that go to the bathroom.
I hear you. Good. Mendy, what's your closing word of encouragement to somebody who watches this and says, okay, it's nice to know that there's hope. Or better yet, the shliach who's watching this, who's not even a year in, and he's saying to himself, I never want to get to that place of $400,000 in debt. But he's not yet sure as to just how committed he needs to be to that 2 hours a day. You talk to Leslie Green, you ask him, how much time does a shliach need to dedicate to fundraising? He says, if you want to succeed, you want to grow your mosad, you want to build a foundation, a minimum of 2 hours a day. And guys have like panic attacks. 2 hours a day, how could I possibly? But when you break it down and you figure what's included in fundraising activity, so Yesh Lema, this is a key part of it. But what's the motivation that takes a shliach from the knowledge, from what you shared, to actually seeing, tasting, and experiencing the necessity of doing this as almost like a guarantee of never getting to that place of negative finances?
I wish I had, I don't know. I wish I watched this 15 years ago. But a recognition, you can't spend money you don't have. You just can't. You just can't. It's unethical for yourself, for your wife, for your kids. You're going to screw up a lot of stuff by doing that. And I think I struggle with anxiety every fundraising call. I'm not like your fundraising guy that does it well. This helped me with it. It's still a struggle to fundraise, and I'm so happy I'm doing this webinar because then I didn't have to fundraise, and I was like booked for the day, and I avoided all fundraising calls. For me, the real step was just being honest, and the ostrich syndrome of putting my head in the sand and hoping things would work out. In the last 2 weeks, since a bunch of shluchim contacted me about this, is like, I don't want to know how much it takes to live on. I don't want to know how much my budget is. You know, somehow God works it out, and I'm not interrupting that. So God bless you. If it works for you, then.
So I had that call from a shliach last week, and he was talking about his comment was almost like priding himself that I think I'm different, that I have that edel emun in the Eibishter, and I said I'm not going to be chaylik on you. But how old is your oldest? He said 10, 11. I said, have you figured how you're paying close to $20,000 a year per year for his out-of-town tuition? And then the conversation kind of shifted. But for the younger man who's not touching that reality yet, I think the awareness we're looking for is what's the Hasidic counterpart or the mushal, the Oisius. No, come on. No, if I want to be a fire, what the Friedrich Rebbe tell Chadikov on the boat? Right? Write down now the things we want to accomplish when we get to America. Because once we get there, somebody else who knows this better, quote me on the exact lashon. Once we get there, we're going to be farnumen. For a shliach to say, I want to be responsible. We don't, correct me if I'm wrong. There were times when the Rebbe used the pencil down to the point. There were times when the Rebbe wrote checks when they were needed. But to run a responsible mosad, I have to be fiscally responsible. We see enough of the Chil Hashem out there when unfortunately certain mosads blow up. And when without pointing fingers, it doesn't take too much to see the irresponsible financial behavior, which Shalom Moshe put out there for everybody to get a good taste of. So here it's thinking ahead. What do I want my wife's Agmas Nefesh to look like, or the lack thereof? What do I want my child's Simcha to look like? What do I want my Baal Batim to interact with? And if I know that in my earliest steps on Shlichus, or like my friend once told me, the minute a Shliach looks at his salary, the way he looks like his mortgage, He's going to create the money to get to his salary because his mortgage is not negotiable. So that's what I'm asking you. So you said Halavai, you watched it 15 years ago. I'm putting it back at you for a closing comment. It's Hiseirus, or however you want to put it, that to help the guy who's within the first 2-3 years of shlichus come up with that solid commitment that it's doable and has all the benefits, and it even fits into a Chassidish approach to pay close attention to this and do it properly. Go ahead. Brother, my job is to tell you what to do. So,
there is it's gate. We're at Mahalzich in JLI season, so lesson 5 of JLI this week. I'm a little behind. It was about the Shemini Esrei, or there's a seichel. There was bitul amayla min seichel and mat min seichel, or beforehand it was chaos. It was tohu without any tikkun. It was just complete tohu, and therefore life was really miserable. It was tohu nonstop. Now I've taken it to the full extreme the other way, maybe too much tikkun, but the blessings that come now. I remember 5-10 years ago, like, oh, I don't have a building. I was like, looking in retrospect, thank God I didn't have a building then. Thank God I did not hire a shliach then. Thank God I didn't have the know-how. I didn't have the responsibility. I was not able to run a mesid. He's actually on the call here. He was beforehand. But when I got a voice note last week, someone says, oh, it's so nice to see this. It reminded me when I was a bacher. The guy tells me, I was a bacher and I came to Lane for you for Shabbos. And I got out of a taxi. When I got off the train, you told me to take a taxi. When I got to your house, I remember you were running around Pushkas looking for change to pay for the taxi. After Shabbos, you gave me a check of $75, which bounced. This is 10 years later. I'm like, shoot, did I pay you back? Did I still owe you money? $34 fee. But life was so chaotic. I couldn't build a mesid. I couldn't deal with humans. I was scared to walk into the bank because I was embarrassed because they know I spent $10,000 on overdraft fees. So it was life just was miserable. Now, God willing, that there's stability. If I have the ability to look forward now and build something nice, it's a long lasting proposition because it's built on something stable. Last time was just not. It was building a skyscraper in mud. It was Mitzrayim building pyramids that just sank in, and no matter how much effort I was putting into it, it wasn't going anywhere. It wasn't going anywhere. And now the cheshbon, you know what? I don't know if that was Chassidish enough, but I said Hebrew words.
A couple of Yiddish as well. Mendy, Lemaisa, you're the shluchim who joined us live on this call. Just about, I think the highest number we hit at one point was 32.
Oh, wow.
4 on the phone. So each of them represents communities and families. So I think it's easy to say that tens of thousands are going to be positively impacted by the tzlacha of this webinar. May the bracha come back at you in areas that you want and need. And keep doing your good work. Anybody who wants to be in touch with Mendy for more particulars about this, the email was shared a few minutes ago. It is shlichusclarity@gmail.com. And thank you for Mendy for your time, and all those who took the time to join. Thank you for coming. And it should be the tayelis for everybody, latzlacha, and the ultimate that we're all in this for is to bring nachas to the Rebbe and complete this final mission.
Amen. Bless you, Shmuley. Thank you.
Absolutely. Hatzlacha Rabba and sei gesund.
God bless.